Hey everyone, and in front of the camera here I have a Great Eastern Cutlery Tom's Choice Barlow, built on the number 15 frame by Great Eastern Cutlery, released at the end of 2016 as a special factory order with Charlie Campagna. This one is in Chestnut Peach Seed Jig Bone. And a little bit different here, I will be going over the knife and just details about it. And at the second half of this video, I will explain why this knife is a knife in my collection that will never ever leave my collection. So if you're just interested in the knife itself, stick around for the first half of the video. And if you want to know why this knife is so near and dear to my heart, stick around for the second half. So let's go over this. This is a number 15 Tom's Choice Barlow, commissioned by Charlie Campagna or Charlie Waynorth through Great Eastern Cutlery as a Tom's Choice Barlow. They've been making the Tom's Choice Barlow on the number 15 frame as well as the number 14 frame in 2016 as the Sawyer Barlow on the number 15 frame, and it's been very popular. It's been in different blade shapes such as clip point, spear point, sheep's foot, spade blades. They had a special main coping blade basically. They've had quite a variety of them, and most, if not all, Tom's Choice Barlows, these special factory orders through Charlie Campagna, have been very popular and usually go up in value as opposed to staying at how much, going down in value or staying at the initial retail price. So usually, some of these will go in, these usually come in around $100 or so, $90 to $100 depending on the blade configuration and cover material, but they will go up $300 or over on the secondary market just because of their popularity and how exclusive they are. These are usually the production totals on these are usually a lot lower than other GECs. So why are they so popular? Well, these aren't Tidute trim, but they seem to always have just kind of the best fit and finish of all Great Eastern cutleries. Everyone seems to really love that TC stamping on the bolsters, and it's just kind of cool. Charlie Campagna has been coming up with these special factory orders for quite a while, and out of all his special factory orders, he doesn't just do things in the number 15 frame. The Tom's Choice Barlows seem to be the most popular. So let's take a look at the tube here. Like all the number 15s, so this is a Sawyer Barlow. We have the Tom's Choice at the top there. 1095 carbon steel. These pictures are always kind of different. And sometimes the colors that they highlight are different. This one they have the flames on this chicken stew pot here highlighted. It says a Barlow in every pocket here. It says Tidute Cutlery Special Factory Order Charlie Campagna. And it's got his website. And as always, Charlie with these TC Barlows puts a story. And this one starts with a chicken in every pot. I'm not going to read his whole story, but you can pause and read if you want. So there you go. Pause and read if you want to know about the story about this Barlow. Take a look at the top of the tube here. Whoop. So we have a number 15, 1 for clip point blade, 1 single blade, 16, and Chestnut Peach Seed Jig Bone. So there you go. This is actually, I believe, one of the highest, if not highest, runs of TC Barlows in a certain blade and cover configuration. I could be wrong. I didn't look at the production totals. But as far as TC Barlows I've owned, this is actually the least rare. I've had a New Day Barlow and a genuine Barlow with a pen secondary with, I think it was blood red jig bone. which I think was actually really rare, and I sold that as well. But this one came out at the end of 2016, close to 2017. I didn't get this right away. I got this actually in the secondary market, but I'm glad to have it. Number 15 frame is a great size. Just to kind of give you a reference to people who might not be as into traditional knives, here is a Chris Reeve Knives small Sebenza. So this is not the large Sebenza, this is a small Sebenza, so it'll give you an idea of how big a number 15 is. So yeah, it's not a teeny knife. It's not a very large knife. I think most people who are familiar with Great Eastern Cutlery are very familiar with the number 15 frame. So we have a clip point main blade here, and if you realize on these TC Barlows, the etching on the blade kind of depends on the blade shape, and this one is Tom's Choice, which if you didn't know, my name is Tom, so it kind of fits in. It's kind of one of the reasons I like this knife a lot. You have that TC for Tom's Choice on the bolsters with a single line. Take a look at the tang stamps here really quick. We have GEC Titusville Ironworks 15-1-16, so clip point blade, single blade 2016. We have Tidute Cutlery, made in the USA. Now, Christian, Nuts Knife Reviews, Nuts for Knives on Instagram. I'm going to kind of take this from him because I got it from his video. This pull, that's not a nail nick, it's a pull on the blade here, is actually a little bit longer than a lot of times when they make that long pull. It actually almost extends into the tang portion of the blade where the grind ends, which is not typical, which is something apparently Charlie Companion specified in this run. It's also apparently a little bit wider than a lot of these extra long pulls. But overall, you know, with this, it's really easy. I mean, you can't pinch this open because of the way that clip point is, but the grab onto that extra long pull and open this makes it really easy. And this has a very typical number 15 pull weight and walk and talk. Pull weight is probably around 5.5, so very light pull weight. Number 15 is also known as the boy's knife frame, so it's a very light pull. Looks great. That nice clip point. That is a classic clip point as opposed to a number 8 blade, which would be a muskrat clip. Yeah, these are pretty popular. They occasionally come up in the secondary market, selling for always usually above $100, if not close to $200 or more. And they will come up now and then in the market because they are so desirable. Yep, no issues with the transitions here between bolsters and covers. Really well done. That jigging pattern is very uniform. Well done. Great Eastern Cutlery won't tell you how they do their jigging. That's a big secret with them. Looks really cool though. That color it varies from knife to knife. This is a little bit more yellow on this one than some I've seen that are a little either darker or closer to white. And that's just kind of what you get. These are bone handles, or I mean bone covers, and they're dyed, and it just kind of what happens when you use natural materials and you use dyes, and they just all kind of come out a little different. Pin construction, of course. These are nicely finished. Inside of the blade well is nicely finished, of course. Yeah, great looking knife. Like I said, walk and talk is good. There's just little teeny bit of blade play side to side in this, like hardly noticeable. Not enough to get upset about. This isn't gonna. This will never be a hard use knife for me anyway. Based on why this is important to me. Back spring termination is good. A little bit off, a little bit crooked, but not bad. Blade centering. That's good. Typical GEC fit and finish. Not a lot of problems. Besides that teeny amount of blade play, I really can't find anything to complain about the way that this was done. 1095 steel, so it will patina if you don't oil it or wipe that blade down. And if it gets past the patina, it could rust, so yep. But typical GEC. Really good looking blade. I mean, these seem to be pretty popular, although these are part of a run of Tom's Choice Barlows that were very seemed to be there was more in the run. They still seem to be pretty popular, and of course they sometimes come up on the secondary market, but it's not like some other patterns by GEC where those patterns are coming up on the secondary market pretty much daily. At least one of them is. I mean, these ones will come up, but not as often. And of course, I think just like any other Tom's Choice run when these first were released, they were coming up in the secondary market a lot quicker for resellers trying to make a profit out of them. Whether you think that's right or not is not something I really care to discuss right now, the ethics of that, of people just buying to resell. But it's true, Tom's Choice Barlows are done really well. I mean, all Great Eastern Cutlers are done really well, but Tom's Choice Barlows seem to have the least issues consistently they have the least issues, if any issues at all. And for good reason. I mean, these special factory orders from Charlie Campagna are just always really done really well. It's really cool that he brings these classic Barlow designs. And of course, I just got in this Blade Forms 2017 Barlow, also a TC Barlow, built in the number 15 frame. Just to give you another look, that's a sheep's foot blade. But yeah, this is popular, and I think with good reason. So that's all for the first half. Let me cut this really quick, and I will go into the second half of this video on why this knife is important to me. Alright, so why is this knife important and a knife that will stay in my collection forever? To go back on that, we'll go back to, I guess, late 2016, early 2017, when I was kind of getting ideas of how to propose to my then girlfriend, now wife. So when I first started dating my wife, we actually talked about pocket knives. Back then she carried a buck knife. I think it was similar to kind of a Gerber paraframe. It was a really cheap Chinese produced knife by Buck. I was into, and I'm still into modern folders, and I think I had a few ZTs at that time. One of the first things I bought her as a gift was a camo Realtree Kershaw Leak. She really likes that Realtree camo stuff, and I wanted to get her something that was better than that Buck. At the time, I wasn't really into traditionals, and I went to a gun and knife show with my wife when we first started dating, and she really loves traditional knives, traditional fixed blades, slip joints. She loves those traditional materials, just the overall look and the materials they use. She loves the way they look. she likes some modern foliage, but she really enjoys those old-timey kind of knives. I, on the other hand, did not care for them at first, and for the longest time, I just had no desire to collect them. Until later, when I started getting a few cases, and then after diving into some videos, learning about Great Eastern cutlery, and then I think, as many of you know who collect Great Eastern cutlery knives, it's pretty much all, I wouldn't say downhill, but it's after that, it's hard to stop collecting Great Eastern cutlery knives. So she knew I had a lot of Great Eastern cutlery knives, and she always laughed at me. Hey, you you always made fun of those traditionals back in the day, and now it seems to be almost all you talk about as far as knives. I still buy modern knives, but yeah, I definitely have a thing for these GECs and Northwoods, these really nice traditional knives that are coming out through Great Eastern Cutlery. So when I got ready to propose to her, one of my plans was to kind of throw her off with a knife. Not in a bad way, but so I was on the forums and I saw this knife. This here is a number 14 TC Barlow. I think they're actually called Lick Creek Barlows, but it's got that Tom's Choice bolster. This is actually a pattern production premiere, number 14. It's got that TC Barlow bolster and the genuine Barlow stamping on this. And this has yellow heartwood covers. My wife's favorite color is yellow, and she likes those natural materials and traditional knives. So when I saw this come up on the for sale section of blade forums, I jumped on this quick. I saw this and I said, this is something she would love, because she loves yellow, she loves natural materials, and she loves traditional knives. The seller actually, after I paid him, oddly enough, lived in the same state that I live in, and just like a county over. Was probably, maybe like an hour and a half drive away, which is kind of funny. But he actually pointed out before he shipped, I'm not sure if the camera's going to get this, but there was a scratch on the blade that could only be seen at certain angles. I don't even know if I can pick it up. I'm not sure which side it was on either. But he asked if I still wanted it, and was willing to refund me the purchase before he shipped out the knife. Knowing my wife and knowing that she would really love this pattern, and knowing that it would be very hard to find this particular cover material and pattern, again, I said, no, really, I don't care. Ship out that knife. Like, I did not hesitate. I really wanted that knife for what I had planned. So I bought that around the same time I also bought this TC Barlow from the end of 2016 run. So come 2017, beginning of February, right after Valentine's Day, I get ready to propose to my wife. We had spent Valentine's Day together. We had spent time on our anniversary, the beginning of February together, our dating anniversary. And she had the idea that I was probably going to propose soon. She knew that it was going to happen at some point. But this is what happened. We went to a national park together. We really enjoy hiking. We went with some friends, and when I was with her, I sat down with her and eventually pulled this knife. It had a pocket slip. Actually, it's a knife ship free pocket slip. I had that, and so I pulled that out of my pocket, and her already expecting a proposal, thought that was about to happen, and I said, hey, it was just Valentine's Day. I forgot to give you this knife. And so I gave her this knife, and I said, hey, it's in this yellow heartwood. It's a really nice fit and finish because it's a Great Eastern cutlery, and she knows how much I talk about Great Eastern cutlery. So she knew it was going to be a good knife. And I said, hey, I wanted you to have this, and it came in late. I had it for a few months, and I basically, I came up with this story. Hey, it came in late, too late for Valentine's Day. And so she was sitting there and looking at it, really appreciating the gift I got for her. And that's kind of when I threw her off and then went to propose. So I threw her off the trail thinking I was going to propose, and then proposed right after that. She was really happy about that. And on that day, I was also carrying this knife. This number 15 TC Barlow from the 2016 run. So, so it's kind of a pairing for us as both, I'm more of a knife collector and enthusiast, but both people who appreciate traditional knives, it's a nice pairing for us. Not only did I carry it the day I proposed to her, I also carried this on the day that I married her. The day I married my wife, I carried this, and I also carried this Lion Steel TRE G10. And I guess kind of to get to the end of the story is neither of these, the Lion Steel TRE G10 is a production knife that there's quite a few out there. It's not the cheapest production knife out there, but yeah, it is a production knife. And this TC Barlow from 2016 is part of a TC Barlow line where there was quite a few out there. It's I think one of, if not the largest run of TC Barlows. But the point being is this TC Barlow I carried the day I proposed to my wife, and I carried both that and this Lion Steel TRE the day I married my wife. And so both of these knives will never leave my collection. I will sell a lot of other ones that are more rare, or even ones that I enjoy more, or have sought after more, to keep these two, because these have a sentimental value to them that surpasses any worth on the market. So I just figured I'd share that story. I think I mentioned in one of my videos before that I had kind of a story to go along with this knife when I use it as a comparison to something else. But yeah, this is a TC Barlow. My name is Tom. And it's special to me because it's special to the story of me and my wife. And I don't think she'll ever be as into knives as I am. But this knife, along with the number 14, Lick Creek Tom's Choice Barlow, I think will always have special meaning to us. And that's one of the things I love about this is Great Eastern cutleries are collectible. They're fun. Some of them are really rare. But when you have a story attached to them, it makes them even more special. It makes them, even more valuable to you. These might fetch upwards of $200 on the secondary market. Some of the more rare TC Barlows will fetch up to $300 or over. But to me, it doesn't have a price tag anymore, because it's never leaving. Neither is this. Due to her working situation. She's not really able to carry this that often, but she does occasionally carry it. But it's kind of a story of how someone who wasn't into traditionals got into traditionals, and then his wife's kind of, well, then at that time girlfriend laughed at him, saying, "You would never like those type of knives. And you always said you would never carry them." And here I am today collecting GECs like crazy. That's kind of all for this one. Really appreciate it if you stayed around for this whole video. I guess the takeaway of this is collect knives, attach stories to them. These traditional knives are really cool in the sense just of how they are, but gift them, carry them on special occasions, It's really cool to attach a story that goes beyond just the production of this knife. So that's all for this one. Subscribe or comment down below. And as always, thanks for watching.